Yeah. Better.
Well, there you go. Do it.
Right in front of the board. Before.
Well, I have to open this. Oh, this is the other one, Jeff. We're doing, we have the trees on Washington Boulevard. Trees, the city has, a survey, we have a lot of things, so tree committee is. Certain things on Washington, and hundreds of those long sections, just to.
Wasn't that?
Make sure that we're, so they have the policy,
Right.
to identify that, and also the ones who keep. Yeah, we're not. Plan for the year with behavior. That's what I'm gonna do.
What's that? This lady or?
Yeah. You know, yeah, here, here's down, but when they stop the board, so. And then, there's nothing, and then, if you want to do that, we should have that.
That was the biggest thing I saw, like, there were more trees planted than there were on this scale. So I didn't want to have that occasion, but there were. Maybe better not. Better first.
So,
If we do have, CRCD.
well, then. Yes. This is the list that I compiled from the tree keeper. It's not the.
Happy Thursday.
So I'm still, we have 13 counting.
Thursday.
Spring.
Hey, okay.
Yeah, it's good.
So okay, when that happens, when they go get the. And then they went, you have, you know, you have. Huh?
That's the problem. Really developed.
We all have to. Yeah, it's. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I just kind of-
Okay, Guy. Cause we need to settle in. Well, I don't know, but I can't tell. I mean, we need to settle down, so.
8, there's 9 here.
I think we have time. But,
Yeah.
yes, we do.
Yeah.
Michael. John. Joe King. 3 online, so do we have 10 in the room?
We have 9 in the room.
9 in the room? 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, 9, shoot. Okay, for everybody, we don't yet have. We are short one person. So we'll do that one person is gonna be. Who has phone contacts with anybody? Yes.
Trying to put dried bread in the salad.
Hey, Chris and Flora, are you gonna be logging into the meeting where we don't have a quorum yet? So if you can log in, I appreciate it. Okay. Do we know, can we kind of visualize who's missing and whose phone number? Diana's not coming. Paula, no. And, but she's sick, still sick. And Chris is not answering her phone. Who else? We have her phone number.
Oh, yeah, sure. Oh, yes.
Oh,
If someone wants to comment on an agenda item,
only when we talk about the. And. Yeah.
Is it, how was your day?
My day was that.
Yeah. There's someone in the waiting room.
Yeah, okay. So, can everyone settle? Give us 1 minute and settle, please. Well, I have a bite of pizza, I guess.
I gotta figure out how to get my picture off. Stop video. There we go. Just my name is there, but my picture's not there.
Not that.
Okay, we're gonna call this meeting to order of the UNNC Governing Board. We do have quorum. We do not have an equity. So, I want to verify if we have just quorum, exactly, our members, board members online, do vote.
Yeah.
He's thinking. Or is it above 12, they're not allowed to win? Well, that doesn't make sense. We have, because if we didn't have quorum.
Yeah,
We don't have,
I would say that.
12.
You need to have 13 people in the room.
Yeah.
People on the.
Okay, so we're good. And board members who are online may vote tonight. Okay.
Sorry, Laura, was that a question for me?
It looked like you were thinking about it. Somebody else figured it out. Okay.
Uh,
So Paula, is still ill. And, I am running the meeting again tonight. And so my name is Laura Myers. I'm the Vice President for United Neighborhood Council. I do need to say that at some point in this agenda, I am recused. And there's not much of a place to go, but I will have to have someone else sub in during the meeting. I'll just go behind the panels because it's constantly gonna be raining. I'm not gonna be standing out there. So that's the way it is. And I have, so for everybody, I apologize, but tonight's one of those nights where you're gonna need to be patient with me, please. Because I have not opened up any of our documents. I'm gonna open up our agenda right now. And we'll have to open documents for sharing one by one. Because, as always, I'm not perfectly organized. And I apologize for that. So, again, we've called the meeting to order. I'm gonna ask that people remain muted until you are called upon. For board members or guests who are in this room tonight, if you have not yet filled out the paper for this community meeting room that's at the front, please do so before you leave. It's very important that we turn them back in to our hosts. And reminding board members, Laura is speaking, well, reminding board members that we can hear everything on the owl, but when you speak, state your name, because we'll have a transcript of these proceedings, but every single spoken word here in the room will say it was spoken by UNNC. So in order for us to figure out later who said what, just say, my name is Tom and. Okay, so here's our agenda. We'll have a call to order, roll call, board members voting status, review and approval of this agenda, public comments and announcements on items which are not on the agenda. Council District 10 report. A report from the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment. If there's any other government officials online, they will then get to speak. And for all of these, unlike the public comment, you can ask questions. We can have a little discussion. We're way out of order from our usual order tonight because we have community members present and apparently also arriving. So we have two planning and zoning cases near the front of the agenda. One as an update for the Mills Act for board members in the room. There's also at the front, the committee motion is here and Steve will do a presentation. And then a case involving Century Liquor. Any other planning and zoning items, updates, anything will be later on in the evening under committee reports. And then we have several funding requests. 3 that are MPGs and then 2 that are more administrative. We have our normal executive committee discussion items and update about the elections, committee reports, whole business, and then adjourn. So I'm going to stop the share. And Michael Soderstrom, are you able to call the roll? Do you have that ability tonight?
I do. If everyone's ready, I can call it. Joshua?
Here.
Dolores?
Here.
Hunter?
Here.
Candace?
Here.
Laura?
Present.
David? David is present
Not
or no?
here.
Not
He's
here?
not here.
Okay. All right. 1 second. Show?
Hey,
Excellent. Edward?
Here.
Paula?
She is absent.
Grace?
Here.
Okay, I am here. Kareen,
Here.
Teresa,
Here.
Michael,
Here.
Chris.
Not here.
He is absent.
Okay.
Can you mark her, Michael, you mark her excused, please?
Okay. Diana,
Also absent but excused, and I'm sorry, Paula was excused.
okay. Betty, leave absent, and lastly, Marco.
Here.
Excellent. That is all.
Thank you. The next item, next, right with that, all of our board members are up to date on their training, so their voting status is go for it. Okay. Public comments and announcements on items not on tonight's agenda. Is there anybody who has?
I have one, this is Teresa Mason. The extravaganza is happening at Benny Potter Park this weekend on, Saturday. 10 to 1. I don't know.
10 to noon?
10 to noon. Oh, you gonna announce that? I'm going to go out. Yeah, no, I'm good.
Okay. I have one, I'm just upstaging Hunter because we have it together-ish. That Ciclavia, which was such a success for us in Jefferson Park on Jefferson Boulevard, just in late February, they've reached out to us again, the organization, to say, you guys were great. We're having another Cicla Mini, they call it, on Pico Boulevard from Normandy, which is right at our edge, east to Hoover, and would we please also participate in that on Sunday, May 18th. And I think at the communications committee, we thought, yay, fun. And our booth would be at the hub, you know, by Papa Christos and St. Sophia, so yeah.
Which is not on the.
No, it's right across the street.
So.
I mean, we share, you know, our boundary probably ends right in the middle, well, the middle of Normandy. We go to Normandy there.
We never believe in them, that's right.
Well, yes, I mean, we have done Martin Luther King, we've done others, so this is actually closer than some of the other ones that we've done. Because our stakeholders, you know, participate. Anyway. Are there any other announcements, comments?
I had one.
Okay,
Yeah, Michael Kimbrough. For the last month or so, I've been talking about a website that I was preparing, and it's finally finished. It's California Registered Limited Liabilities Corporation with a website, and it's called the California Wildfires Reconstruction Coalition. And it's a team of around 30 professionals, architects, engineers, expediters, contractors, and it's a one-stop shop. The flyer contains a QR code that will drive you directly to the site. You can see that. And then from that site, there's a drop down that will list architects by category, structural engineers, mechanical engineers, soil geotech, door makers. There are a number, maybe 20 different types of professionals. So when everybody who has been affected by the wildfires are ready to reconstruct, they will go to this site if they're looking for direction on any discipline and profession that they may need at the time. So I've made some flyers, I can pass those out in case anybody is in need. There's no cost associated with it. They are professionals that I've worked with for the last 25 or 30 years. Everybody's been vetted and are willing to not work for free, of course, but to help support the fires.
thank you, Michael. Yes, Ed.
I don't know if anybody is familiar with this, but this Saturday, the Hands Off Los Angeles Fights Back in Pershing Square from 4 to 8 p.m. Participating in the nationwide demonstration against what's happening here in our country. And I think that we should be aware of this event and anybody that show up who has that opinion.
Ed, could you say again the location?
The location is Pershing Square, 532 South Olive, from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. April the
So that's downtown, right?
downtown. Yes.
Thank you. Okay. Any other general public comment? So seeing now, the next is government agency reports and comments, CD10 report, Jeff Camp, and I think with an introduction.
And spot again.
Right around here's good. And
Here?
yeah, here-ish. This is the device.
Where's the game? It's in there too.
Yes.
It'll go here.
Hey,
Good morning, or good evening, everybody. Glad to be here again, and I assume everybody knows who I am, so I apologize. Jeff Camp with CD10. I'm the senior field deputy, and I have been a field deputy for the city of Los Angeles since 2017. Before that, I had a lengthy period of time with UNNC, and half of that time as president. So that's why I assume everybody knows who I am. My colleague here is Alisa Rivera, and Ali, that's how she goes by. She's been shadowing me for the last 4 weeks, and so UNNC in particular has a rare privilege right now because you have 3 individuals who are here at your beck and call from the council office: myself, Daniel Narrow, and Ali. For some of the updates I've got, you had started to bring it up, the spring extravaganza, which UNNC helped sponsor. CD10 also helped sponsor. The Avenues are also participating in the Women's Steering Committee. It's this Saturday at Benny Potter Park from 10 to 12, and there's going to be various age brackets broken down for egg hunting activities and whatnot. There'll be arts and crafts. There will be food, popcorn, hot dogs also being served. So encourage your friends and family to come to that. Push that out as hard as you can. There was a new update to the 311 system, both online and the app. If you haven't done so yet, you need to update your app. They're still going through the bug process because it happened this last Friday. But if you have any issues, you can reach out to any of the 3 of us and we will help. The bugs that I'm aware of right now is it's taking longer for photos to upload than previously. So if that's the case, just at least get your ticket in. And then as for other tickets, like I mentioned the last time, the council member, Heather Hutt, is using her office dollars to pay overtime to Bureau Street Lighting. So if you have an area that has street lights that are out, report to 311, but then email me so that we can put on our priority sheet. So when we have BSL in the area working for us, overtime outside of city, we can get those lights up and running faster. The other item.
311. If you guys have, or if you guys have not gone in yet, when you guys go in, you may not be able to see your old SRs, your old service request. Yeah, thank you. It's okay. They are still there. If you have the service request number, I know it's a little time consuming. You can contact 311 to see the status on it. But you will still get a closed confirmation email once it is closed. If you do want to follow up, you can submit another ticket saying it was incomplete, but they will still email you that. If you guys have any questions about it, person help. But yes, also, if you are still able to log into the old app,
It's gone.
do not, yeah, it should be gone. I, on the other hand, was not able to log into the new one, but still had access to the old one, which is weird. But please do not enter any new SRs on the old platform. Do it on the new one.
And the ones that are existing, and we know there are years of them there. If they aren't completed within 90 days, they are going to be re-entered manually into the new system. So they aren't gonna go away. And once it's completely closed and the new system is up and running, it'll be available on the city data portal for historic references and information access.
So before you go, this is Laura speaking, before you go on, David Sapper has his hand that's up. So David, I know you have your hand up. Are you telling us it's hard to hear us? Or do you have a question for Jeff?
I had a question for Jeff.
Okay.
Yes, David.
I assume it looks like the new 311 app is supposed to work with Angelino.
Yes, if you have an Angelino account, you can sign in with that. For those who don't have an Angelino account, that's to try to tie it all together with city websites and services from different departments. You can create an Angelino account.
Well, I have an Angelino account, and when you go to log in, and this is going into try to get into Angelino itself, it says it is unable to connect single sign-on with Salesforce.com, and to call your rep, you're unable to log in.
So if you'll send me an email, David, we can look at that through ITA. I wasn't able to get in for 2 days because of that exact same issue. And I used just my city credentials and it finally got me in. But if you'll send me an email, I will make sure that I get you in touch with ITA and we can figure out how to get you in. Because I know you're a very good reporter.
Yeah, and right now you have to enter all your information every time because you don't have a profile.
Right.
Okay.
So please send me that and I'll get you fixed as soon as possible.
Jeff,
Okay,
I'm gonna
thanks.
do judge. You have to say your name each time,
Each time.
because we're doing a transfer.
Okay.
That was
Thank you.
David Sapper speaking.
Oh, David, you're good. You're online, so it captures you as David Sapper, but it captures.
Yeah, any answer that transcript just heard, that was Jeff Camp from the council office.
Thank you.
This is Jeff Camp again. There is, and I think I sent this to you, Laura, for outreach. There is a mayor's event that is happening, and it's on April 16th. And it is specific to neighborhood council board members. I'll leave this with Laura, or I can leave it with you, so we can be pushing it out. But I've attended these in the past, and they're really good because they bring you up on a mayor level view for the neighborhood councils. So if you can, when you get this information, sign up for it. It is it's a Zoom or a go-to meeting, but it is very informative and lets you see what the departments are doing citywide. So. BSL procedure. Oh, here's the last thing. Jeff got his ballot for the elections, which are coming up. So I wanted to prove that I had done it. At the same time, for those online, if you haven't done it, you're running out of time to be able to request your ballot.
You're out of time.
Out of time, okay. So this will be in tomorrow. I won't tell you who I vote for, but I'm voting up to a max of 7 people, and I think it's only 7 people, so I'll just leave it at that. But congratulations, thank you for all that you do. And before we head out, you want to give your email address.
Elisa speaking. My email address is Elisa, ALISA .Rivera, RIVERA at LAcity.org.
And I'm Jeff.Camp at lacity.org. And again, guys, thank you for everything you do. If there are any questions before we leave, please let us know. We'll answer real quick. Otherwise, have a fantastic meeting.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Oh, this is Laura again. The next,
Yeah.
we have a question?
Yes, quick question, Dolores, have you thought that the handle was changing to .gov?
Yes, and it is. You're going to start seeing it on various different websites. They haven't gotten to the email level yet, but the 311 is now under the .gov. The main city websites are under .gov, and it's an ongoing process.
Okay.
This is Laura speaking. Jeff, do you happen to know how many city employees there are? 10,000, 20? I mean, I feel, Laura speaking still, I feel that if they can just let you keep your emails, they're gonna keep the domain. They should let you keep.
Forward. Yeah, this is Jeff. I believe there are roughly 35 to 40,000 employees, but you have to realize that also includes LAWA, which is the World Airport and LAX, and DWP, which is its own entity and different addresses as well. But yes, I would hope that would be the case.
Okay.
Thank
Next,
you, guys.
next item on the agenda is a report from the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment, Alfonso, who, I pronounced that wrong, who is online. Thank you. So you don't have to keep saying your name over and over again, it will record properly.
Yeah, I don't have to be like Jeff, right? Yeah, all right. Just for me, I did want to touch on a few points. I did email the board my report. But I'm actually looking at it right now. I think Jeff mentioned the website updates that are going on right now. So we did update our websites as well. Now it's neighborhoodempowerment.gov, and that's that whole transition with the .gov websites. You will be seeing that in the future. Just a heads up. We also updated the Google Drive folder. So what that means is that each like empowerla.gov/UNNC, you will see a Google Drive on that webpage. You can access everything that's in there. It's a neighborhood empowerment resource. So just click on that and you'll see like a bunch of documents that you can use. It has your bylaws, it has other documents that we provide as well. I did also add the ledger reports. So we transitioned the ledger reports. You used to get them with emails. So now what you're gonna receive is a constant contact email. So it looks more like a newsletter. If you don't accept I think the constant contact emails, then you won't get the ledger report and our newsletter. So it's tied together. You do have to accept that. Once you disagree or decide not to accept any more emails, those emails will stop getting sent to you, and you have to actually re-register and accept the constant contact. I think Jeff mentioned the mayor's office infrastructure meeting. That's the RSVP. Just if you want to sign up for it, it is on Zoom. They're pretty good. And let's see, Congress or neighborhoods. So I'm actually on the planning team for the department. We are having the Congress of Neighborhoods. They're having a meeting this Saturday at 1:30 p.m. So if you want to sign up for that and see what they do, it's very interesting. You get to meet a lot of people throughout the 99 neighborhood council system. So definitely do that. Laura, I think I sent you a separate email about AB 467 and SB 707. So as you might not be aware, the actual item that lets you meet online on Zoom and in person or in hybrid, SB 411, that's set to expire January 2026 next year. So what the department is doing is we're working with the Assembly Member Mike Fong, and we're trying to pass a new assembly bill. So this will actually extend it to 2031. It's 5 more years. I know that Senator Durazo is also working on something similar, SB 707. So those two bills are up there, and it's involving neighborhood councils. Laura, if you want to do that letter by tomorrow, that would be helpful. But that's only for Mike Fong's AB 467, just so you know. And I sent a longer report attached to it. It has more info about the elections and stuff, but I know that this NC is very aware of what's going on with elections. If you have any questions about that, I'm more than happy to answer that. But I do want to give you a heads up. If you do request your ballot online and you're using a cell phone, you won't be able to upload any documents that are requested. I know that even if you're affirmed, the city clerk's office is still asking for an ID so they can mail you that ballot. So it's still a requirement some way. So I'm more than happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Are there any questions? This is Laura speaking. Are there any questions for Alfonso? Okay. I think we have a thorough report. And for board members, you got this whole report in your email as well. And Alfonso, it's not on our agenda, so I'm not sure if we can write a letter tonight, but we'll talk about it later in the evening. When we get to
Yeah, the only way that you can write that letter is in your individual capacity.
okay.
Yeah, so you don't need board.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so anybody who's interested in starting, politics 101 and start advocating by tomorrow, get a letter. Okay. All right. Any other comments, questions, moving on? Are there any other government official? I don't think so on the Zoom. So we will move on to planning and zoning cases. Steve, this one's you. Steve, you're doing a presentation, is that correct? So
Yes, so if I could share screen, please.
Yeah, I'm looking for you. There's a lot of people here. So actually, there you are. Okay.
Looks like it's set up. Let me load the presentation. If I could find it, here it is.
So
Can you see?
Yeah, we can see. So very quickly, I do want to say a couple of things. One is the agenda item is the update and action on the Mills Act Historical Property Contract Program, draft policy update, ordinance amendments. If any board member has a Mills Act contract, they should abstain from voting on this item. And that would include me. So I'm turning the whole presentation over to Steve and Teresa, and I would like somebody else to sit at the computer to run this session.
Thank you, Laura, and thank you to the board. I'm Steve Peckman. I'm a longtime resident of Jefferson Park and for almost 20 years, a participant in the UNNC Planning and Zoning Committee. So I was tasked last night by the committee to present our discussion and recommendations about the Mills Act Historical Property Contract Program, draft policy updates, and ordinance amendments. So what is the Mills Act? It's important to give a little bit of background. I won't belabor it. The Mills Act was essentially a law that was promulgated by State Senator James Mills back in the 1970s, ultimately in 1977, intended to provide an incentive to preserve historically significant landmarks so that future generations will be able to appreciate California's cultural diversity. The program is statewide, but it's run locally by the LA City Department of Planning. And the planning overview states that they like to promote the LA Mills Act program as California's leading financial incentive program for historic preservation. It creates a contract between the city and a property owner that allows for a potential reduction in property taxes. That reduction is to further preservation activities on the property, and it applies to all types of taxable properties, single and multifamily, commercial, and industrial. So the Mills Act program hang on, I've been asked to admit somebody. The Mills Act program in LA started in 1996, and it provides a primary financial incentive for historic preservation, offering property tax savings for owners who invest in the rehabilitation and restoration of historic buildings. Total properties in LA at this point in the program are 947. And the enabling law, as I said, is both state and city, and it recognizes that historic preservation requires a long-term commitment and resources. So it incentivizes the preservation in perpetuity by reducing the property tax of the property owner and mandating that the contract awarded to the applicant stay with the property even when the property changes ownership. Why would you want to do this? Because you want to incentivize the next generations to preserve the property. So that tax savings is used to invest in preservation activities. And those activities have to be consistent with the Secretary of Interior standards. That's at the federal level. And the property tax savings is the tool that's used to achieve the goal of long-term historic preservation. So why should UNNC be involved in this, and why are we discussing it? Well, because there are a number of Mills Act properties in our greater community, some of which are owned by people on the board. So there are 124 Mills Act properties in the South LA Community Plan area, 81 in the West Adams Baldwin Hills Lamert Community Plan area. So that's 205 total just in the community plan areas. And a vast majority of the neighborhoods have been designated medium high and high barriers to opportunity. There are 209 Mills Act properties in CD10 alone, most of those in areas with barriers to opportunities. 102 of those are in the UNNC boundaries, including the HPOZ's Harvard Heights, 37 properties, West Adams Terrace, 30, Washington Heights, 19, and my neighborhood, Jefferson Park, 16. So why does the planning department want to change rules at this point? It's been going since 1996. Well, they want to create a revenue stream to support hiring of additional staff through new fees from both current and new contract holders. And it requires dropping older Mills Act properties and reducing the mission of the program. And these are two important points that I'll get to. They want to update program infrastructure such as IT for robust data tracking systems, increase diversity and broaden inclusion of properties in the program, develop program assessment and quality improvement to make sure they're doing what they say they're doing, and eliminate the threshold of the city's unrealized property tax revenue, which currently is restricting the number of contracts allowed in the program. So the Planning and Zoning Committee very vocally and robustly endorses numbers 2 through 5, having data tracking, increasing diversity and inclusion, developing assessments for program quality improvement, etc. Issues arise in terms of developing the user and compliance fees, as well as changing the fundamental basis of the program. So how will planning implement the changes? The city proposes a fundamental conceptual change to the cornerstone principle of the Mills Act program, which is eliminating the foundation of the state and city laws, which rests in historic preservation of the property. They seek to redefine the program from long-term historic preservation to solely, and I quote here, incentivize a scope of historic rehabilitation rather than preservation work to be completed over an initial 10-year period. This will result in the erasure of the City Council's goal of long-term historic preservation of historic resources, which it indicated in the ordinance as a cultural benefit to the citizens of LA. The law requires that a contract provide for the preservation of the qualified historical property and only when necessary to restore and rehabilitate the property. So you can see here how this reframing of the program by Department of Planning is turning the whole thing on its head. So the conceptual changes require the department to drop contracts held longer than 10 years. It ignores the law that requires the contract to, quote, inure to the benefit of the successors, right? And that the successors in interest shall have the same rights and obligations under the contract. What this does is that it ensures that the next person who owns the Mills Act property gets the benefit of the tax reduction so that they have some financial means additional to what they would normally have to help preserve the property over time. It eliminates the long-term historic preservation of historic properties, which, as I said, is a cultural benefit to the city. The conceptual changes allow the department to impose new fees. And the contract maintenance fee schedule now is $3,000 every 5 years, or around $600 a year for contracts that are post 2014. The intent is to help pay for the administrative costs of the program, including compliance inspections with concomitant but not yet described fines for contract holders who are deemed as non-compliant. And I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. So they propose to coordinate with the city attorney's office and the council to amend the pre-2014 Mills Act contracts to add enabling language for fee collection. The problem with this is contracts by law connect two different parties, in this case, the city and the property owner, and they come to mutual agreement about the terms and conditions of the contract. So to change that contract should not be an arbitrary decision by the city attorney's office or city council, but should be, again, a negotiation between the current contract holder and the city. And none of that is articulated in the proposed plan. So again, the Mills Act incentivizes historic preservation through property tax savings for owners who invest in the rehab and restoration of the building. However, these new fee systems, essentially what they do is they propose to give money to the property owner through the tax incentive and then take it back through the fee structure, which allows for almost $0 to invest in the long-term preservation of the property. Number 4, they want to reduce the length of the contract. So they want to drop out or phase out contract holders in the program longer than 10 years. They hope that this will make room for new properties that could pay additional fees that will support additional staff. And this is inconsistent with the letter and spirit of the law that we've already discussed, and it eliminates the central benefit of the Mills Act, which is the property tax reduction, which accrues to the new owners, an incentive for the new owner to participate in the long-term goal of the act. And it turns the program away from long-term multi-generational historic preservation into a short-term rehab program, and it denies the department's important obligation under the laws to maintain the properties under the Mills Act. So, planning acknowledges in the draft that preservation has its own substantial costs and requires a long-term financial commitment. Oops, sorry, bounced ahead there. The proposed change will leave historic properties vulnerable to historically inaccurate modification after that 10-year period, and they're dropped. This is specific to those properties that are in HPOZs that don't have additional historic designations. That is because HPOZ rules only cover the exteriors of the structures visible from the street and not the interiors, which is also covered by the Mills Act. So the potential destruction of the preservation work that's done over time on the property undermines the long-term financial investment through the tax reduction that's been made by the city in the historic preservation. So these plans undermine the whole scope and purpose of the Mills Act. So in 2022, the Planning and Zoning Committee through the UNNC requested a whole host of things that are in a letter that are in your materials for the meeting. I'll just highlight 5 areas that could accomplish planning's goals for the program, increase efficiencies and reduce costs without removing the foundation of the program, which is historic preservation, and address issues of equity and transparency. So the Planning and Zoning Committee recommends supporting and updating these specific requests. 1, conduct community outreach with stakeholder community. All neighborhood councils and their stakeholders, including Mills Act property owners, should be notified of the plan to change Mills Act policies and procedures. This has not been done. Announce public meetings. I'll remind you that 3 years ago, this was recommended, almost 3 years ago, and nothing has been done. Announce public meetings held with specific targeted invitations sent to the primary stakeholders, the Mills Act property owners. And there should be an appropriate window of time for the community to review and make recommendations regarding the proposed policy additions and modifications. Number 2, develop efficiencies that reduce or focus staff administrative time. Develop an annual required report-in questionnaire for every Mills Act property owner to complete and return, and that could be online. Reporting on the work to date and also on the expenses incurred in the prior year. Efficiencies developed, it will inform the annual updates for the 5-year inspections. Right now, those 5-year inspections are de novo. They're not even thinking about what happened in the previous time. And this information should be shared with the county assessor, which is responsible for the tax reduction. 3, inspections. Make the 5-year inspections less onerous on staff and owners. Currently, inspections are overly detailed, overly punitive, and they're not kept current, resulting in efficient use of staff and resources. They should update the inspection process by including the option of virtual inspections to increase efficiency and reduce costs. And it should also address the concerns about transparency, which is the city should publish objective standards on its website and distribute to stakeholders, including the property owners, the due process policies for inspections, compliance review, and contract cancellation. None of this is available. It is currently a total black box. 4, compliance. The city should not cancel or not renew single-family home contracts unless it's demonstrated through appropriate published due process that the owners are non-compliant. And 5, transparency. They should create a more democratic process. The city should add representatives from the Mills Act property owners to its decision-making process. So the motion last night from the Planning and Zoning Committee after robust discussion on this item was to recommend to the UNNC board that it resend the July 19th, 2022 letter as an attachment to a cover letter, resolution, and community impact statement that provides some background and describes the new points as outlined during the presentation this evening. The final draft letter would be reviewed and approved by the executive committee, signed by the UNNC president, and sent to the Cultural Heritage Commission in time for the hearing on April 24th this year. This is the whole purpose of this meeting, of the presentation tonight, is that planning wants to get this approved by the Cultural Heritage Commission at the end of the month. So that's the entire presentation. I'm happy to take any questions. I know that you're in a bind tonight in terms of the number of agenda items. So if you want to know more about definitions, such as the difference between preservation, rehabilitation, restoration, et cetera, I'm happy to share that. But that's the motion. Thank you.
Well, we do need a second, someone not on planning committee.
Grace seconds.
Thank you, Grace, and now we can open it up for just, oh, do you have a Mills Act, Grace?
No.
Teresa, you need to make the first. Steve just made it. Oh, okay, then let me, sorry, thank you. This is Teresa Masonette. Here's the motion that the UNNC rescind the July 19th, 2022 letter as an attachment of that. Let me start over. The UNNC rescind the July 19th, 2022 letter as an attachment to a cover letter, resolution, and community impact statement that provides some background and describes the new points as outlined during the presentation this evening. The final draft letter would be reviewed and approved by the executive committee, signed by the UNNC president, and sent to the Cultural Heritage Commission in time for the hearing on April 24th, 2025. Is there a second? Grace seconds. Thank you. Now we can open it up for discussion. Anybody in the room have questions? Yes, Ed.
I thought you started, isn't this a state program?
I don't hear you, Ed, sorry.
This is Ed Son. I thought you prefaced this as being a statewide program.
It is yes, it's a state law that's implemented locally by each city. So each LA has its own policies and procedures to implement the state law.
So is this happening statewide, or is this just something LA is trying to do?
This is just something LA City Department of Planning is doing, as far as I know.
Okay. So I'm just curious.
Anyone else? Anybody online? Can you stop the share, please? Steve?
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay, so there's no further questions. I think we're ready to take the vote, Michael.
All right, one moment, I'm preparing that. Joshua,
Yes.
Dolores?
Right. Before we get started, Michael, Laura, is there anybody else in here with the Mills Act code? Laura's the only one that would be accused. How do you know? Because we're. Yeah.
Are you asking how do you know if it knows that?
Yeah.
You would have a contract.
We would have a contract.
You know it.
Okay, I guess I'm not. Okay, we're ready.
All right, Joshua,
Yes.
Dolores,
Yes.
Hunter,
Abstain.
Candace,
Yes.
Laura is recused. Show,
Yes.
Edward,
Same.
all right, Grace,
Yes.
I am a yes. Corinne,
Yes.
Teresa, Teresa?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, okay. Michael?
Yes.
And last Marco.
Yes.
Excellent. Motion passes.
Great,
Thank you to the
very much.
board. Thank you very much.
That was excellent, Steve. Thank you.
Which is what he wants to do.
Yes, chairs. The next, this is Laura speaking again. The next agenda item is, case number ZA 2008-2049 CUB, which basically is a conditional use permit for the sale of alcohol. PA2, that's the plan approval number 2 for the Century Liquor Store located at 2115 West Jefferson Boulevard. A plan approval hearing is usually done to either determine whether the conditions that had been put in place are working, or in this case, they the applicant applied for a plan approval to request changing some of the conditions. So they want, in the underlying application, the request is to eliminate the condition that requires a security guard from noon till close. And then they also wanted to extend the hours of operation to sell alcohol. So this is a liquor store and market. They were long ago approved to actually have a 24-hour market, but not to sell alcohol past 11 o'clock. So they're requesting to be able to sell alcohol till 1 o'clock, I believe, 2 o'clock. Yeah.
Well, it's 2 o'clock.
On the paper, it says 1 a.m.
On the paper, it said 1 a.m. and then in conversation, when the applicant representative came to our meeting, he said 2 o'clock. And I'll be honest with you, I really don't remember what he said at the public hearing, whether it was 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock, but it was to extend the hours. The Planning and Zoning Committee recommended against the request. So we recommended not removing the requirement for having a security guard. And we recommended against expanding the hours when liquor could be sold. There was a public hearing, which a number of us went to, and at that time, more information was revealed. So this is after the motion from Planning and Zoning. It was revealed at the hearing that, well, I should say, the reason they stated to eliminate the security guard was because the husband of the husband-wife owners, the husband had died and the widow was struggling, and it was too expensive to keep up like $13,000 a month for a security guard. What we learned at the hearing is that in fact, there's a new operator. Widow's not running the store. It's another company altogether, Circus Liquor. And that was not in the application at all. And we also learned at the hearing that they have already done construction work on the interior to expand the amount of square footage for the sale of alcohol. So one of the other things in the original determination was it states how many square feet can be devoted to the sale of alcohol. So that's, they've done construction and there's many more square feet devoted to it. And that was not one of the requests in the application. So so the original planning and zoning committee motion, I would suggest, we have a lot of members of the community who want to talk to us tonight, but I would suggest allowing us to in effect amend our original motion. But I think that, what do you think, Teresa, before or after we hear from the
I
community?
think we should make the motion.
Okay,
And then.
all right, so I, Laura Myers, move, not as an individual, not as on behalf of the committee, that UNNC not support the removal of the security guard, not support the expansion of the hours of sale, recommend to the zoning administrator that she's in charge, but that she review as to whether she needs to have the applicant withdraw and resubmit the application with the appropriate ownership of the store, not the property, or the appropriate operator information, and that she not at this time approve the expansion of the square footage of alcohol sales until such time as a new application and probably a new hearing can be held.
I'll second.
Okay.
Oh, Michael Kimber said.
Thank you. And so we have a lot of people here.
Don't see any hands.
I don't see any hands. Well, we have two people in the room here for this. And
Laura, could I just show that one slide, please, before you get to?
I'm sorry, and you're still able to, correct? I didn't change. So
Yeah.
Steve Peckman has a slide to present to show you where this liquor store is and how it relates to other sensitive uses.
See if I can. Okay, here we go. So this was presented to the Planning and Zoning Committee earlier in March. And what I'm going to show you are the sensitive uses within 1,000 feet of Century Liquor. These include public resources, education, and religious entities. And some of these were actually part of the original application 15 years ago that the owner operator was required to submit. So there's Century Liquor, just a little bit west of Arlington on the north side of Jefferson. Directly adjacent to Century Liquor is the Vasey Wright Public Library and the Leslie Shaw Park. As you can see, those are just steps away from the liquor store. In addition, there's the new building blocks preschool and infants only daycare, the Teach to Reach Children's STEAM camp, as well as the Holy Name of Jesus School. And in addition to that, there are 4 churches, including Westminster Presbyterian, almost directly across the street, Trinity Baptist, Holy Name, and Puerta de las Aguas. So there are a number of, as defined by the city, sensitive uses very nearby and adjacent to this liquor store. And this was part of the materials that were presented to the Planning and Zoning Committee with the representative for the applicant at the time. Thank you.
Okay, David Stacker has his hand up.
One correction to the materials that Steve just showed, Teach to Reach has moved across the street and is now closer. They are directly adjacent to the park on the north side of the street. So they've actually moved closer to the liquor store. As far as my comments on the application, I thank CD10 for uncovering a lot more information than the applicant submitted, which leads me to the point that this applicant, through their omission of facts, has shown to be wholly disingenuous as to their business operations. Circus Liquor, by the way, operates about 3 blocks up on Jefferson. They are one of the more problematic liquor stores in the neighborhood. And so removing any conditions, I would, in fact, it's not part of this motion, but if we were going to be asking for any changes, it would be to add additional conditions, not removing them. Because if you were to go to the Century Liquor or the Circus Liquor, we have a perfect example of how they operate. And you will see homeless encampments used to be on the same side. They have now moved them across the street, but they are one of the more problematic stores in the neighborhood. And it's very concerning that they now operate a second location closer to sensitive sites. So I would support the motion that was made, and maybe even add another condition that additional conditions may be added or may be asked to be added in the future.
Thank you. Laura speaking again. So for clarification, the new operator, so the owner of the operation is Circus Liquor, which has multiple locations, not just 11 locations.
Yeah,
Got it.
slightly different, or sorry, this is Colleen Nave, as I live in Jefferson Park. Slightly different configurations, and slightly different corporate identities, but the same cast of characters, owners and officers among about 11 or 12 different entities, all of which use the name Circus in one way or another.
Right. So that it's a chain in and of itself is necessarily a negative, but that it wasn't revealed in the application is what was revealed at the public hearing, and Laura just said that.
Steve, can we just take turns with in-house and online?
Yeah. Did you?
Let's do in.
Colleen did just spoke.
Additional comments?
Did you have additional comments?
I actually wanted to ask a question before I share my
Say-
comments. Speaking, Laura, I wondered if you maybe might share with the folks online and the board members in the room some of just a brief history of why these conditions were imposed in the first place. Why this site is known to be quite as problematic as it is that the conditions were imposed in the first place.
Okay, well, this is Laura speaking. Well, it's interesting because even our council District 10 planning deputy, Hakeem, who grew up in the neighborhood, was beat up in front of this liquor store years ago when he was, a teenager. And it is also the site, unfortunately, where one of our longtime stakeholders' son was murdered. So that was back in 2009, 2010. So at the time, this was when the Century Liquor was up for this original conditional use permit. I do not remember exactly why they needed a conditional use permit, but it looked like to me from looking at documents online that it was part of a potential revocation process because it was a nuisance use. Because at the time, this was much after the civil unrest. So, after the civil unrest, a lot of liquor stores needed conditional use permits, but this was 2009. So I think it looks like it was because it was potentially going to be revoked. So a lot of conditions were asked for by the community, including some that were not granted. But like not selling little teeny airplane bottles, for example, was not granted. But they were trying to control that it not be a nuisance. Is that what you meant for me to do? Okay, so Colleen, you had a few more.
Yeah, I
have a comment.
share. I live on the other side of the alley from the liquor store, and I have lived there since 2000, so I've been here a long time. It's always been a problem. There's always been a nuisance factor of the sale of alcohol and spillover from the site. I think we all can recognize that in the what, 15 years since the conditions were imposed, that the public safety situation in our alleys has actually deteriorated rather than improved. There are a lot of vulnerable people that live in the alley behind my house. People who hurt, and unfortunately hurt people do hurt people. I personally have been the victim of arson fires by people who live in the alley. I would love to see more services and more help for folks in that situation, but unfortunately, it does create significant public safety problem, and the proximity of alcohol sales is very, very problematic. I think we all know that the city doesn't clean the alleys or address the alleys, so I clean and address the alleys. I personally remove encampments that are up against my wall on a regular basis because the city does not. I can hear, my bedroom is in the back of the house, so I hear what goes on in the alley, sometimes all night long, fights. It sounds sometimes quite violent. I can't tell you the fact that those folks are buying their alcohol at the Century Liquor site, but it's only a few steps away. So staying open later at night is a very bad idea. And as Steve pointed out, there are sensitive uses close by, and there's constantly the interaction between children and families and folks who are experiencing severe problems with alcohol and drugs in the alley. So I would urge you and request that you, so that we're retaining at least the conditions currently.
Okay. The suggestion was that we go back and forth between the room and the Zoom. So Steve, you have a brief further comment?
Yes, thank you. This is Steve Peckman. A couple items. One is, I think it's important for the board to know that at the zoning administrator hearing, there was tremendous turnout by the community, and all of the community agreed that the condition should be upheld and not be removed. Many members also attended the Planning and Zoning Committee that informed the committee's recommendations to this board. One of the more important issues I think that needs to be considered is that though there are problems still around the liquor store, as Colleen articulated, it is our belief in the community that those problems would be much, much worse without these conditions. As David talked about the Circus Liquor at St. Andrews in Jefferson, which is just a couple blocks away. I recognize that the Unnc, the previous operators of the liquor store, felt that there was a financial issue here, but I think that their financial issue doesn't supersede the community's need for public safety. And then finally, I think it should go almost without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway, that an applicant that serves to deceive the zoning administrator by not informing the administrator that they're no longer a party to that operation and moving forward with a request for amendments to their approval is at best disingenuous and at worst a lie. Circus Liquor should be required to submit a new amendment if they want removal of these requirements and go through the process just like anyone else. Thank you.
Yeah, Michael,
Excuse me.
Steve, I wanted to echo your comments. You took the words out of my mouth, but the question would have been the omission of the new ownership. Given the history of the existing ownership, the question would be, were they omitted purposely to deceive? What's your opinion?
Okay, well, I'll tell you, Laura speaking, I don't have an opinion, I'll just state a series of facts. So the original application was submitted in May of 2024. In October of 2024, a circus-related entity filed with California Secretary of Corporations. Anyway, filed with Secretary of State filed a new corporate filing at that address with its owners. And then Hakeem reported that as of January 28th of 2025, the ABC liquor license transferred to the circus entity. So it appears that the Unnc family, not Mr. Unn, he has passed, but the Unn family still owns the building.
Right.
but not the operation.
So Michael.
The license is held by Circus Liquor.
Yes.
The community has confirmed Hakeem's position that ABC transferred the license to Circus in January. More than enough time to change the application with the zoning administrator. So Michael, my opinion is that they have not followed the rules and they should be required to follow the rules, and there should definitely be no changes before that. And there shouldn't be changes subsequent to that either. I mean, I just think that these rules have served the community to the best level that they can, given the conditions of the alley and other situations that surround the store.
And Steve, to the point of what their intent was, this is David, none of this was disclosed by the applicant. Only Hakeem brought it up. So
I think we need to pause the roll call. We've been on
Correct.
that.
We have one more then.
I understand. So unlike a committee meeting, we can't talk over each other and do this. We have, Teresa wanted to call the question. We do have a new hand raised. And well, we have a new hand raised. I do want to make a specific point. I can't say that there was intent, but one of the conditions of the current conditional use permit is that with a new operator, anytime there's a new operator, you would have a new plan approval hearing, not the one we're in, but one that occurs 2 years later to make sure they're operating properly. So there's a lot of just bureaucratic stuff that would dictate that this needs to be, the application needs to be fixed. Georgiana, and then I do think the question's been, and the question's been called up, yeah. So Georgiana Streeter.
Hey, good evening. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I just want to just jump on and say I want to support the board's recommendation not to change the conditions, either not to remove the security guard and certainly not to extend the hours. I guess I would also question, since Circus Liquor has so many other liquor stores, the hours that they close at their other locations. This seems like a absurdly, kind of absurd request to keep it open to 2 a.m. since I think most of them are open till 11. And so I think it's a little taking advantage of the neighborhood. And I think to Colleen's point, and the presence of that playground, which is a really great playground, it's really just everyone goes there. Having folks, continue to buy stuff at 2 a.m. and hang out in that area is not conducive to a healthy neighborhood. So just want to say thank you and yeah.
And if you want to do the last comment, did you?
My name, I'm Roberta Monroe, I'm UNRWE. My comment is that there should be further restrictions on the property. That whatever restrictions were denied in the past, that they should be brought back, or particularly because of that part of the library that is right there. But if you have a liquor store, even though 11 p.m., that it's dirty, they're hanging out, the police can't stay on top of it, and it's more than
Okay, well, the question has been called. Michael, you still with us? Michael Soderstrom. I know you're there.
Sorry, trying to unmute here. Excellent. Yes, I'm ready to.
So you're ready to do a vacancy and call the roll.
Indeed. I'm sorry. Who is the motion and who is the second?
Laura made the motion. I don't remember who made it.
I second.
Michael, other Michael made the second.
All right. Joshua.
Yes.
Dolores.
Yes.
Hunter.
Yes.
Candace.
Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
Show,
Same,
abstain?
It sounded
Yeah.
that way.
same,
Okay.
sorry, same.
No, you're good. Edward,
Yes.
Grace,
Yes.
I am a yes. Corinne,
Yes.
Teresa,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Marco.
Yes.
Excellent. Motion passes.
Okay. And moving on to item 6, funding request. Hi, Susanna. Sorry, I know you've been sitting here a while.
That's
okay. Do you have a brief presentation to make?
Yes, I have the same materials that I presented at the last committee meeting that I am happy to present again.
And now that we're like, oh my gosh, look at the time, are you, I'm gonna give you hosting ability, but are we able to keep this to 3 or 4 minutes?
Yes, absolutely.
I just heard a comment, or 2 minutes. So anyway,
2 minutes. All right, I'll do my best.
All right, so this is the California Dance Institute, which requests an MPG for a dance education program at Carson Gore School, which serves a diverse student body. And just so everyone knows, this is the right number, right? The executive committee recommends an NPG grant of $2,500, but up to, could be less, but up to. Okay, go ahead, Susanna.
Amazing. Thank you so much. So as was mentioned, we are California Dance Institute, and we are requesting support for Carson Gore Elementary, which is in the United Neighborhoods District. Our mission is to transform the lives of LA public school students through the joy and rigor of dance. And we serve underserved students. 80% are on the free lunch program, 75% are Hispanic, 8% African American. You can see more stats there. 53% are limited English proficiency, and 2% are special ed students, although that number I believe is more at Carson Gore. CDI empowers students to express themselves and their cultural background. So most of our instructors are bilingual, and we do our dance and music classes bilingually. So at Carson Gore, that features Spanish. In Glendale, that features Armenian. And we are really interested in using students' cultural background in our dance and music pedagogy. We have been in Carson Gore for many, many years. We have very deep ties in the neighborhood. We were at Pio Pico before they split, and have now been at Carson Gore for many, many years. So our ties in the community are very deep. Our programming consists of 3 pillars. One is in school, so we offer the program during the school day as part of the curriculum, and then an after school program for the most engaged students that are really show enthusiasm for it. And then finally, we have a giant event of the year, which features our after school programs from across the city, who all come together and do this giant magical performance at the Wilshire Ebell Theater, which is really only 10 minutes from Carson Gore. So it's very accessible to those students and is a really beautiful, magical performance every May. I'm going to skip that one because I'm keeping it short. Our culminating performance at Carson Gore is this Monday, April 7th. And you are all invited to come. There's multiple performances during the day, so I can pass on information about that. But it is this Monday at Carson Gore. And then our event of the year is May 29th at the Wilshire Ebell Theater. So this NPG would support both the culminating performance at Carson Gore Elementary and then also Carson Gore's participation in the event of the year. I can show those really quick. This is an invite for that performance this Monday at Carson Gore. And this right here is an invite for the event of the year in May, which Carson Gore will be participating in. So I hope I kept it short. I'm happy to take any questions.
Okay, so Candace, actually, you were kind of leading the discussion as executive.
Yeah.
And so can you tell the board members why we, if you remember, why we thought up to $2,500?
Oh, yes, so we chose up to $2,500 because the money would mostly be going to the end of the year performance because the mid-year spring performance is this Monday and the clerk's office is not going to cut a check that quickly. So we also have done activities to support schools in our footprint before, and they serve a good purpose with their student body. So the motion from the executive committee is to approve up to $2,500 for an MPG to help support CDI's dance program at Carson Gore for their end of the year program.
Is there a second? Nope, you're on executive. Is there a second from a non-executive committee?
I said.
I have a
Teresa.
question. Okay, Teresa seconded.
No.
Okay.
Okay.
And for, just in case anyone doesn't know, Carson Gore is the school right at Washington and Third Avenue. So I'm pointing for those of us in the room, just 2 blocks west.
So we have a question.
Yeah.
Made the motion, it's in second, let's take some comments and then let's call for the vote.
Okay, Show King.
I have a question. I just had a question about our budget. What do we have room for, I guess, in our budget for it?
Yes, we do have room in our budget for all the MPG requests that we have tonight. And that's also why we approved $2,500 because the original request was for more than that. And so we wanted to make sure that we had enough to do requests. So that's why it's 25 and not the original request.
And again, Laura speaking, just as a matter of information, the last time we can spend NPG money, this is not the meeting, next meeting is the last time, but all check requests have to be in by the end of May.
Right.
And all other spending has to happen on credit card in the first 15 days of June. So we're at that time of year that we're now spending money.
We're supposed to be on this topic, Laura.
Right.
I think Hunter had.
It's okay, no, I'm fine,
I see a hand behind me, but quick.
Elizabeth Benner, in full support of this motion. I work at LaSalle Elementary down at Manchester and Western, and dance transforms these kids. I just see them loving it, loving it. All I'd ask as a librarian is that you incorporate the hint of math into the, and the hint of literacy. All you have to do is say, if you count it, you do a count of 8. I don't know, just do a little math because they're scared of math sometimes, and a little bit of literacy. Please just, because they're not going to be dancers, most of them, but they're going to go into it. So anyway, you get my point. Thank you.
Okay.
If I could just respond real quick, we absolutely do love to incorporate both math and literacy into these classes. Sometimes we do games and I do simple addition, simple subtraction, simple division, you know, and then they have to walk or dance to that amount, like whatever the math problem is. So yes, I 100% hear you and we love to do that.
Okay. Michael.
First off, executive recommended up to 2,500. Are we voting on the $2,500 amount now?
Is the motion 2,500?
Yes, and it's been seconded.
And who was the second?
I was the second.
Teresa seconded.
Okay, excellent. All right. So then to 6A, Joshua.
Yes.
Dolores.
Yes.
Hunter.
Yes.
Candace.
Yes.
Laura.
Yes.
Show.
Yes.
Edward.
Yeah.
Grace.
Yes.
I'm a yes. Corinne.
Yes.
Teresa,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Marco.
Yes.
Excellent. That is everyone.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
We have two other big funding requests. I'd like to move to C. I'm recused from B, but I just wanna.
Thank you. Thank you.
Do you guys, World Harvest, we've had this on our agenda for a couple months. Do we want to proceed without them, or do we need to table this one more till May? Item C on the backside of the agenda.
Are they here?
They are not.
Okay, and can you ask for the twice here?
They have asked if they could be here tonight, but they're having some staffing issues. I'm not gonna reject their MPG, I'm just asking, do you wanna move forward on it without them, or do we wanna table it till next month, and we'll guarantee that they're here?
I think we should wait, yeah, and maybe tell them that, next month is the last month that we're voting on MPG.
Right, okay, so, on item 6B, I
Hey.
am.
Laura,
Hang on, yes.
hi, it's Alfonso. I have a question. I think I see Mark. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if he's from Road Harvest Food Bank.
No, he is not. He was before, but he is not now.
Oh, got it. Okay, that's why I was a little bit confused. Thanks.
Yeah. So Laura speaking, I am recused. I have discussed this with the city attorney for our item 6B. And it's a matter of geography. My home is within 450 feet, so within 500 feet of the address and residence of our applicant. So I am leaving the room, and Candace is running this section. Not really leaving.
Make it quick.
Yes, ma'am. All right, so our next MPG request is from Beautify LA. And he came to executive board meeting, and we talked about projects that he wanted to do through Beautify LA for the UNNC footprint. One of those was to distribute kits to homeless individuals that are in our footprint. So our original recommendation was $500 for the supplies for the kits. But Mark followed up this week and had an additional adjustment to the cost. So I will let him explain it to the committee. And then I'll let us decide as a group if the adjustments work for what he's trying to do. So with that, I'll kick it to you, Mark.
Yes, hello. Hi, United Neighborhoods Neighborhood Council. So I wanted to follow up. We had 4 event dates to provide homeless supplies, specifically hygiene kits with soap and shampoo, toothbrush and toothpaste, feminine hygiene products, deodorant, wipes, bandages, and first aid supplies. These items can help improve the quality of life for homeless people and provide them with the necessary resources to maintain cleanliness and dignity. So the 4 event dates we had were May 2nd, May 16th, June 6th, and June 20th. Just because when you go to these homeless encampments, sometimes you meet half of the people. The next time you go, you meet the other half of people. Everybody is on a different schedule. So we want to be as effective as possible and also make sure that these people are well supplied with the proper hygiene products. A couple of the locations we have here are Roosevelt Avenue and Venice Boulevard, Washington Boulevard and Arlington Avenue. I believe we've identified about 17 encampments. And we also wanted to follow up. The reason for my additional amount is because we wanted to clean some trash from the public areas. And so we had put down May 5th and 6th and June 9th and June 10th to provide trash cleanups also underneath the freeway. The entire passage underneath the freeway is completely littered with trash, so that's what we would use the funds for.
The additional $395 from the 500 that so 500 for kids and $395 for a cleanup in the area around distribution.
Yes.
Is that? All right, so.
Questions, a million questions.
Any,
I have questions. Michael Kimbrough, how did you come up with exactly $395 for cleanup? Where's the math behind that?
Okay, great question. There's a dumping fees. So the dumping fees, we are also going to be using a truck and trailer. So we have some gas costs and then we also have personnel expenses for the trash cleanup, but the majority of it is for resources to clean up the trash and properly dispose it at the LA dump.
One more, Michael Kimbrough, you projected two and a half months into the future for these distributions of the hygiene and whatnot at homeless encampments. How can you be sure that they're gonna be there?
Great question. These homeless encampments have been here since last year. We've identified multiple homeless encampments, and I hope they're not there. I hope they're not there by next month, but we aren't seeing that change reduce the homeless encampments that quickly. So we unfortunately believe that they'll still be there by next month.
You were just dealing with the $500 request. This is $500 request. How many of these kits will $500 cover?
$500 should cover over 100 kits, and these kits will be provided at a continual bi-weekly basis for May and June.
Okay, Ms. Lewis?
I'm still on the cleanup money, the $395 or whatever it was that he's requesting. Have you considered working with CD10? Because in the past, we have had neighborhood cleanups and the city sanitation has provided the truck and rakes and garbage cans and the like. So I'm wondering if that amount can be reduced if you coordinate with CD10.
Yes, 100%. We would love to coordinate with CD10. We also coordinate with the Committee of Beautification to also provide cleanup supplies. However, there is a lot of trash, and if we make it less than $500, we would love to continue trash cleanups in your area moving forward. So if we're able to reduce the cost, we could continually clean up for time to come.
Speaking of reducing the $500 for the kids, my concern is the $300+ for trash cleanup. That seems a little excessive to me.
Okay, I see Hunter had his hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to provide a little more context. So Mark came to the executive committee and presented a 3 or 4 prongs idea that involves homeless kids, cleanups, gardening, and a community outreach event that involved gardening, I believe. And the executive committee, which I was there for something different, But the executive committee basically said, you know, you don't have really dates picked out, the supplies picked out, let's maybe take it one step at a time, let's focus on the $500 homeless kits right now and then see where we go. I see Mark came back with dates for that, which we asked him to do, so that was great, thank you. But now we're also requesting I think he's throwing us for a little bit too.
Yeah.
So it would be my recommendation, maybe that we just stay with the $500 homeless kits for now, as planned as executive. And then if this goes well, we can continue into the future. And in the meantime, if you want to look into some of these resources through the city and see if you can get a truck or rates for free or whatever, that would be great, and maybe come with a little bit of a reduced cost.
Yeah.
Because I agree, $375 is a lot.
Yeah.
And detailed about how much it's gonna cost to dump and all
Yeah.
that stuff.
Okay,
Yeah.
so Joshua has his hand up and I was actually gonna make that very
Thank
simple.
you.
Yeah, great, Joshua. Joshua, okay.
Perfect, thank you. This is Joshua Pierce online. That was kind of my follow-up questions to Mark as well. I've had the privilege of doing events like this, and it's awesome that you guys are getting out in the community and helping out with homelessness. First question would be, are you guys buying the kits pre-made, or are you buying the materials and then having staff put the kits together? And if you are doing the latter, then do you have pre-existing relationships with some of the larger vendors like Target to help reduce the cost of buying those items?
Okay, great question. So we would purchase the supplies in bulk to to place in smaller containers to hand out. And we do use our 501c3 status to help reduce the cost.
Any other thoughts or questions? I would move that we stick to the 500 original dollars that the executive committee recommends. Okay. Well, can I move it?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, executive, you moved and she seconded.
And Grace seconded.
Okay.
Call the question.
All right, Michael, we're up. Time for your vote or for the question.
Me?
You're on mute.
Sorry, who was the second?
Grace
Grace was the
seconded.
second.
Great.
Candace made
Excellent.
the motion.
And this was for $500, correct?
Yes, we're gonna stick to the original $500 and then Mark, you can come back.
Perfect. On to the
Yes.
motion. This is 6B. Joshua Pierce.
Yes.
Doris.
Steve.
Abstain?
That was
a
yes, Spanish fee.
I'm sorry, there's background noise.
She said yes, it was
Yes,
funny
okay.
saying it's in Spanish, that's C.
Excellent. Sorry. Hunter.
Yes.
Candace?
Yes.
Laura? Oh, Laura's recused. Dave, your show.
Yes.
Edward?
Yes.
Grace?
Yeah.
I am a yes. Corrine?
Yeah.
Teresa?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Marco?
Yes.
Excellent. Motion passes.
All right, so we approved your initial $500 request and thanks for coming out and make sure to let us know how everything goes.
Thank you, Mark.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you.
Thank you, United Neighborhood Council. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mark. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll be in touch with the report.
Okay.
Awesome.
Okay. This is Laura. The next item on the agenda is a proposal to renew UNC's. I hear voices. I hear voices.
We have 15 minutes.
I hear that voice too. Okay, renew UNC City Enterprise Zoom license, approximate cost $200. Alfonso, is there exact language for the motion that would be required? This is the city Zoom license, if you're still here.
No, there's no exact motion, but
Okay.
it should be up to. I think $200, right? That's what the city
Yeah.
clerk.
Okay, so executive committee, Chris, we have two of them.
Okay, well, I have a comment on this item. Sorry, Laura.
But we already,
My prerogative.
it is indeed after a motion is made, but we did have a long discussion about this. Okay. The executive committee recommends, so this is a motion, that UNNC renews its city enterprise Zoom license at a cost of up to $200.
I'll second that.
Zoom's Enterprise Tier 1.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, what?
Siri was listening. Go ahead.
Siri was listening and made a comment. Very nice, Siri.
Can I? We
Well,
have perhaps
perhaps.
a second so we can open it for comments now. Thank you, Laura. So we used to have 2 Zoom accounts. I have recommended that we eliminate the $150 UNNC Zoom account, and all of the committees will now use the enterprise account. We're gonna work with Hunter, so all of the logins
IDs.
and all the things will all fall under one Zoom account that the chair people will have access to.
Right, and we will vote on that item. I mean, yes, this was sort of the collaborative result, but we have 2 different items on the agenda.
Go ahead. let's call the
Okay.
vote.
Is there, any
This one is the enterprise.
This is
one.
to,
So we have our personal one,
yeah,
that is 150, and we want to get rid of that, and then this is the enterprise one, that's more storage.
Yeah,
and about 200, and I'll put those on.
and city requires that we vote each year on this because
But we
it
need
ends
to
up
vote.
being a transfer of funds from one city department to another.
I said,
Can we call for a question?
Yeah.
yeah.
So here we go. So this is, Michael, just the one, the renewal of. the
Yep, I'm
city-
sorry, who was the motion, who was the second?
I apparently was the motion.
And I second, Hunter seconds.
Yeah, Laura
Awesome,
moved.
excellent, so we'll then call roll, item 6D, Joshua,
Yes.
Dolores,
Yes.
Hunter,
Yes.
Candace,
Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
Show,
Yes.
Edward,
Yes.
Grace,
Yes.
I'm a yes, Corinne,
Yes.
Teresa,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Marco,
Yes.
excellent, motion passes.
Hunter. Campbell license.
Oh, Canva license, so this is something new that Dunn is having us pay for. Typically, they give a Canva license to everybody who gets Pro Tools, and now this year they're saying that you have to opt into it and pay $130 for it. We've done it a lot with the elections. I think that it's worth it just because we don't have a dedicated in-house designer. So I think it is worth, if we are reducing costs in administrative places elsewhere, to spend $130 on this.
Okay, so Laura speaking, executive committee voted to recommend that we renew the well, not renew, purchase the Canva license at up to $130.
That sounds good. Can I second that?
You
or-
can second.
I'll second that.
And then I will comment, thank you, Sarah Longham also used the Canva account to design our brochure. And the tree committee is gonna be doing some things, and we're gonna move that, so, I prefer that we turn that.
Okay. Can we do a BAC, please?
Yes, 1 second.
Making you work hard now.
This is item 6E, Joshua,
No.
I'm sorry, no?
Correct.
Okay, Dolores,
Yes.
Hunter,
Yes.
Candace,
Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
Show,
Okay.
okay, Edward,
Yes.
Grace,
I'd say yes with a little friendly amendment because it's an approximate cost of $130. So I'd like to give us a little wiggle room and say up to $150.
I think it's like 127 or something.
Okay, all right. I hear we're okay with $130.
okay, my dog also doesn't like ambiguity.
So yes.
I'm a yes, Corinne,
Yes.
Teresa,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Marco?
Yes.
Excellent. That is everyone.
Okay, executive committee report. 7A, there is no president's report. 7, okay, 7B, treasurer's report. I know Candace could make some treasurer's report, but we do not have an MER for March.
Yes, so the MER for the month usually comes out like around the 7th or 8th, and today's the 3rd. So we do not have the March MER.
That's
But do we have any board members reports?
Oh, yeah. Oh, but I did want to give you all, sorry, an update that we did finally get the invoice from Unnc to be caught up. So we are caught up, the city is approved, and that will be on our for next. That's the big.
Okay. Vice President's report. Again, woo-hoo, everyone's up to date on their training, attendance. I will just say the exact people who were not present at this meeting are the ones who are the exact same people who have a bad pattern of attendance. And that's all I'm gonna say. They each have reasons, but it's a bad pattern. I mean, good reasons, but still a bad pattern of attendance. We do have woo-hoo secretary report for one set of minutes. So I will go find them one.
Yeah, so on the February one, I know it says November here, but February, we went over the November 7th minutes and approved them. I wasn't here at the March meeting, but I don't know if you guys went over the December.
We didn't do any of this.
Okay, so we'll do February today, and then we'll do
catch
the
up.
other two at the next meeting.
I'm going to share the screen. These minutes were in your agenda packet. I hope y'all read them. I'm going to confess, I did not, but I'll read them quickly as we're here. So, can everybody see the minutes on the share screen?
Yes.
Okay, so this is for February 6th, right?
Yes. Yes, February 6th. Okay, so we had roll call, but we did that offline for some reason, I'm not sure why. And then we had no public comments. We had the done announcements, reports, the Jeff Camp announcement and reports, and then we we approved the homeless count $500, and then made an announcement for Clips, Flavia. Planning and zoning approved the motion for 7A. And then we had president's report about the emergency funds that we donated to South LA Cafe. And we had Skip B1, B2, we approved the motion to reimburse Laura. B3 was approved as well. B4 motion was approved as well. Then we didn't have a vice president's report, and we approved the minutes for November 7th.
Oh.
And then
Okay.
9A.
I'm sorry. I went too fast, didn't I?
So yeah, we also approved the 9A for the gathering at the local library. 9B, we approved the meeting greet, happened later on. And that was it. We adjourned at 9:01.
Okay. All right.
I will make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay, we do not need a BAC for this.
Good.
We do need to vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Right.
All right, NC elections update. Teresa's done a terrific job. We have one.
We had two events, one to get people to come out, register the ballot, to request the ballot. We went from 9 to 45, so that was successful. And then last weekend, we had an opportunity to come out and each of that, the candidates that were running, and that was, okay. So we're done. Now everybody needs to ballot. Okay. Yeah, and I think April the 8th, It will be live. I think they're gonna be counting the ballots and doing a presentation live. I'll see it. No, the city clerk's website, so.
All right, and just as a reminder, if you haven't mailed it yet, just take it over to the Jefferson Branch Library. They have an in the library ballot box for neighborhood council ballots. Don't use, if they still have that county one bolted outside, don't use that one. Go inside the library. So you can go in on Saturday, they're closed Sunday, they're open obviously Monday and Tuesday. Okay, we know how many ballots were returned?
40, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, that's,
she's been giving updates every Wednesday, but because Monday was a holiday, and I have to check my.
yeah, and the two we discussed came in the mail today.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so that's all good. 4. So we're not the one with the, I don't know. Who's that? We're not the one with the least number, we're not the neighborhood council with the least ballots.
That's impressive. We'll take it.
We'll take it. Okay, committee reports. Let's start with communications, because Teresa's engaged. Guys, we're gonna do this fast.
Yeah, real quick for
Communications right now.
And so we already talked about wanting to get rid of that second Zoom account. That's gonna save us, I think we said like 150 a year or 170 or something.
Be that they tell us they're gonna charge. We do.
We would need to vote.
No, actually, we don't.
No.
Guys, I feel like we're not focused. If we're not going to renew the second account in May, the second Zoom account, do you feel that we need to vote to not pay for it?
They're not.
Moving it's not paying.
So next thing is honestly, same thing with the Ring Central. I'm thinking we get rid of this too. This one's $423.78 a year. I already talked with Ann Zumwinkle about getting a Google voicemail set up, which would be free, easier to use.
Okay, so on that one, until we have actual setup of a different one, when we do the budget next month, we have to include this in unless we already have an alternative, because that has to be in the admin package.
Okay, I guess.
Not it, but
What
phone.
So I would have to have the Google voicemail set up by next month in order to do it. That's fine with me. I can do that.
That, let's.
We have to have a phone
No, we
set
do
up.
not. Many neighborhood councils do not have phones.
Do not
Use
have-
share that puncher.
But yeah, I did research and a lot of neighborhood councils don't have phone numbers. I'm not saying that we don't have a phone number. I'm just saying we use a free service that we don't pay $423 for a year.
So I'm trying to get the meeting over.
Me too.
This would be in the budget discussions at the executive in.
Didn't we
a few
discuss it
weeks.
in budget in executive last month?
No, we're gonna do the budget. A big year. We have to do a budget and a proposed admin
That's fine.
packet.
Then
So if everyone, it sounds like what everyone favors, obviously, is if we can have a free account, then that's what we're gonna do. But
Yeah.
we don't need to have the detail tonight. We just need to know if we're gonna achieve it or not.
we'll achieve it.
At the time we do the budget.
We'll achieve it.
Okay. Moving on, please.
Communications committee support. Okay, so also I'm thinking those emails that we get every month that, everybody responds to, like, are you coming or not? I'm thinking those monthly email reminders will be regrets only. So the idea is that we do not have to respond to them every month. If you are coming, all members of the board are expected to come. But if you don't show up and you don't respond or otherwise tell Paul or the executive committee, then it's going to be an excuse absence. That's just one less step.
Drop the hand.
Wait, you said we don't show up and don't respond?
Yeah, so I'll still send a reminder email saying,
Should we send an email to the people who are not here right now?
No.
Or
I'll
this
let them know. Yeah, I'll send out an email to everybody.
Yeah,
And that's it.
can you send it to everyone?
Yeah, I don't think so with an update.
Right.
Awesome.
Okay, Teresa, tree committee.
Okay, sorry, I'm going to help pick that out. So, thank you very much, Laura. So the tree committee had our first meeting a couple of weeks ago. We have about 3 projects. One is to identify the cages along Washington Boulevard and work with the council district, Nellie Sand, to remove the cages so that we can put in new trees and Also have the trees that are in there pruned properly. We're also doing a project around 6th Avenue Elementary School. I met with LA Santan, we walked around and we did some marking where we did do cutouts, and then KYCC is also gonna be able to do the tree and the water. That project will not come to completion until September or October, much later in the year. And I'm hoping that we can have some kind of community event, that the council gets involved, maybe do a food tree giveaway as a bigger community event. That's my opinion.
We have one other kind of major item, but I think what we just want to do is have permission to provide an updated letter to the city council office. So the item is 3810 through 3814 West Adams Boulevard. That's the proposed big ED1 Emergency Directive 1 project. The section of Adams Boulevard that is also designated as a scenic highway and which has a 40-foot building line. But this has been approved by the planning department as if those two things didn't even exist. The our CD10 council office has done a motion at city council for the city council to assert jurisdiction over the matter, take it away from the planning department. And that's a piece of new information we got last week. So in your agenda packet, we have our previously approved letter to Heather Huffman, UNC sent to the council office supporting her initial motion. And we also have the community impact statement. This is moving so fast that again, this is a situation where we've been asked to update our letter to support the new iteration of what Council District 10 is trying to do. But this came so quickly that we haven't had a chance to act on it. So I would like us to have a motion to authorize the executive committee to approve an updated letter based on our previous letter, but just with the updated information. So that's the motion. Is there a second? Second. Candace second. So Michael, the motion is to update UNC's previous letter in regards to 3810 through 3812 West Adams Boulevard, and to have executive committee approve that letter. Moved by Laura, seconded by Candace. And you're mute. You're mute. Okay.
Menopause.
Oh, I'll make you then.
He's trying to fix it.
Sorry, I
There we
thought we
go.
were done with, I thought we were done with the BACs for today, so I had to spin up a
Yes.
new one and copy it over. Apologies. All right, Joshua.
Yes.
Dolores,
What? Yes.
all right, Hunter,
Yes.
Candace,
Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
Show,
Yes.
Yes.
Edward,
Yes.
Grace,
Yes.
I'm a yes, Kareem,
Yes.
Teresa,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Marco.
Yes.
Excellent. Motion passes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm assuming the answer is no to this question. Is there any old business
No.
to discuss? Okay,
Just
and
the-
therefore we are adjourned. And yes, it is 9:06, but I will point out we started late. Bye, everybody.
Yeah, I saw, May 30.